Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Because he first loved me. It only takes a spark. Count it all joy, my brethren, when you face various trials and tribulations, knowing that the trying of your faith, I don't remember all the words, but they're really good. I usually have to make up some parts sometimes. Will endure, bring you to your endurance. This is good stuff. Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. That is a verse that many don't really think about, but it's not that you're never going to smoke. Silly boy. Not that I'm not telling you to smoke if you're a kid, but I'm just saying everybody's got their age where they decide with their king or God who it is and what it is that they can do. See? So there's a few things to keep in mind now that we know how beastly we can be. We need to let love reign in our hearts, just like all these things we've always been taught to believe. But see, now this thing applies to us more than anyone you see, because we've got the great news, no good news. No, good news is a scam to make more money for the Antichrist beast ones. You see, there's many Christians who are in the church right now who are really some of the greatest dividers and chiefs. So we're going to be very careful about using the word Christian between ourselves anymore, you see, because, well, we might be kind of more of an enemy of the, quote, church, unquote, you see, because they're in that faux finishing thing. You see, the first time I ever did a faux finish, I was working with Tom, my boss, and he painted high-end, all stuff in Rancho Santa Fe, Del Mar, Bill Gates stuff. So we were doing a sponge finish on Neptune and Encinitas. This is a nice house, right? And I'm trying to get it right, and you got to keep doing this pattern with the paint and dipping it. Oh, it was a pain in the butt. And so I'm like working, and he kept going, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm doing it like you showed me." He goes, "No, you have to look at mine." I'm like, "Why do I got to look at yours? I thought I'm supposed to do this." And he's like, "Because we both have to look exactly the same, because we're doing art. You see, this isn't painting. We have to look like we're the same person, but we're not." Now, that's a great thing to think about right now, because you see, faux finishes are the church. All of them. There's none that aren't. I mean, if you look at the Catholic Church and the JWs, they're looking for a king maybe more than anybody. But even they are like, "Well, you must do it like this. Now, you must come confess to me as Father." Well, no, that's Jesus said, don't do that. So the thing is, that in reality, we've been under a test. But the church liked Egypt better than the wilderness. See, we were supposed to come out from Egypt and the love of money and pyramids. So when Trump speeded the peso like a hint that, we might be on the wrong king, because it's pretty obvious that he was a king in his own mind, and I thought he acted like Nebuchadnezzar, Look at this great America that I created as it goes bankrupt, but the stock's going up, don't worry. So here's the thing. We've got to stop trusting people now. See? Any people, okay? And that's why whenever I talk about scripture, I don't want you to think about how lovely I am or how beautiful I am. Oh, his beautiful clothes and my tithing program is just, I've got that inner circle like John MacArthur. Just give me extra and I'll show you how to get real close. Okay, I'm trying to get as far away from that. I'd rather you think I'm a little out there, because that might be part of the plan, you see? Because there's too many people that don't think they're a little out there, and they're like, oh, Pastor, you're so like God to me. So, now that we know these things, we have to keep in mind that, and we have to not be the faux finishing crew. We really are on the same page. We worship the same king, and we have no hate for all these people we see. See, that's the main thing, is that we want to have that, like, faith of a child, you see? Because blessed are the poor in spirit, and if theirs is the kingdom, and Jesus even said, the kids, theirs is the kingdom. That's it, period. So if we just think like a kid and look at everybody else like, oh man, they're big. You know what I mean? Like big as in, we're not trying to mess with these people and like be troublemaker and complain to them or say, dude, you better do this or you're... It's kind of like this one guy, he went to this Bible study and he was like on this thing. I don't know what it was. It's like a spiritual thing, he thought, or something. He's like real excited about this Bible study he's going to and everything. So I went to work with him. I think I met him at work or something. And he got in this thing and he went up to everybody. Hey, man, you got to stop sinning. You got to stop doing that. You got to stop doing this. You got to stop. I'm like, hey, man, this is not the sin police here. What are you trying to do? You know? He's like, well, I got to get them all in shape, man. I'm like, no, you're supposed to give them love. So they want to be a part of the crew before you. So let's not get any divider in chief things in us and be all about love and helping each other get closer to the King and love one another as he loves us. And think about those times we can spend with him alone now that we could have spent long ago and maybe woken up to some of these things if we weren't so tuned into these beautiful doctrines of men that make sons of hell. So I thought that Hellboys movie had something to it. It might be a good time to pull it out and watch it. Think that those are actually the pastors right now, because it's not good to trust any pastor. I don't care who he is. He's not leading you down a good road because he's part of these tribes and they are not in Revelation 7, I don't think at all. So it's good to just look for the King and spend some time with him alone every day. So you can know him, because that might be part of this thing, that he knew that all along. And so he gave us this little test. And since we mummied up for the last year, he's like, well, I guess that's one Christmas we missed. Because I know these kids would like to get out of the mummy thing and into the promised land. So you've got 3 choices here. It's really quite simple. If you like the pyramids, well, you can just bundle up and be a mummy. See if he'll come for you as the dead bride. And otherwise, you could get out of the fog and into the wilderness and camp out a bit. And, I really do think that if you did start going camping, just once a week or whatever, or even if you're getting in trouble with your house, I'd go to the local campground and just, hey, do like they did when they left Egypt. Because to me, if I was king, I'd be more rewarding that than going into your pyramid so you can stay comfy during the plague. That's to me, that's almost not putting the blood on your door in Egypt. So, it's good to think about these things and draw near to him so he can draw near to you. And study to show yourself approved. Which is the other thing, is what I always say, is that I want you to prove what I say. Don't just say, oh, wow, dude, what this guy said sounds cool. And I hope it does, but I want you to check it and make sure and read Matthew 5-7 and see if you could fit in that kingdom, because it's really quite simple. It's not that complicated. And that's why none of these teachers want to teach it. Not to mention Matthew 24, which is right now. And so let's just be joyful. Joy, 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 joy. Down in my heart. Where? Because if it is down in my heart, then it's easy for us to bring joy to the world. The Lord is coming, because none of the churches are singing it because they don't want to see him. Don't you see? It's well, it's kind of like my cat Tiger. He's a great cat. I tell you what, that cat, I miss him. He kind of took off, one of those things. Cats are like that. They're a little wild. So sometimes you just kind of let him go to nature. Well, Lord, he's yours. And that's what I did with him. But I think he's going to be back in the millennial kingdom playing with those snakes. But see, the thing about Tiger is that he never missed a mouse or a rat or a bird. If it was in his territory, he might walk away, but he was like a tiger. And when he heard something, he was in the house and he would be like, take off. And I remember times when I'd be sitting here going, oh, Tiger, you're such a good cat. And he would hear something, and the door would be open, and literally, he would just scratch me and just take off like a bat out of hell. I'm like, what are you doing, Tiger? Chasing a bird. He heard it, and it was like, boom, I got it. So that's what's happening now. See, that Tiger's coming home to roost, and, well, the chickens are packing all right. The sky is falling. Because, see, they're chicken all right. Because I don't know what they did believe, but it doesn't look they believed in a king. I'm really wondering if that deity of Christ thing might really be what they believe. And they actually believe that he is a ghost, and so he's not coming back, and there is some race of people that's just gonna take over, start cutting people's heads off and say, all right, it's us now, you're it. So I guess that might be part of it. I don't know how many of these leaders in the Christian church know that there's Jesus boiling in crap that they're supporting that's behind all this. But it's just, I think a lot of this like whole Q movement and the SRAs and the look, they're sacrificing babies. I think that they all might be in on this. It's like, oh, it's going to get ugly. Let's like make them all in Hollywood and everybody look really bad. It's just, we've all sacrificed all of you, and well, we don't want you to look at that. So we'll just tell you about these SRA people. They're so evil. Then, well, we're not that bad. We're just like used car salesmen, you know? We just kind of scammed you for a long time and told you you were knowing God and you were knowing a God. We just told you about all these other cults that knew a God, not the real God like us. And now, well, we're all exposed, and the emperor's got no clothes. And, well, Et tu, Brute's coming. So just keep on the Chargers team and have joy, because you're not with all of those faux trees. You see, that's the thing about those faux trees, is they look okay from a distance, but when you get up close with the axe, well, let's just say they don't go the distance. So I think I can see now why there's a remnant that's so small, you see. Because there's not many leaders that want to talk about a king, any teachers. So if there's no teachers, how many sheep are there? That's going to be the key that we will see soon. But it's good to get on the Chargers team, so you know you're on the same page and not dividing with those Chiefs, because they've been doing it for a long time and they've got a lot of money behind them, but they've got a spirit that's a little on the dark side, you see, because Luke, come to the dark side. Well, that was about the church. And they went all right. And if the light in you is dark, how great is that, Doc? Well, let's just say their teachings aren't going anywhere too quick, because they don't have any learning in them except how to brainwash you. So if you'd like to get on the right track, stay with the King and the Chargers, because we've got Natron Means and he's coming quick with the ball. And, well, you know how unstoppable he can be. But I love you all, and keep it up. Keep praying and spending time with the King. Don't trust no man to get you there, because they're all on the Titanics. You just gotta spend time alone every day with your King. Give him the glory. And thank him that you realized you had to get on this team soon. I love you all.